Last month, I got into some problem. I was trying to log in into my Discord account, but for some reason, I was unable to log in into my Discord account, and I mostly use similar passwords for all my accounts. So when I was unable to log in due to incorrect password, I was scared that was my email compromised and did someone change my password. Thankfully, the email wasn't compromised, and I realized just few days ago prior to this incident, I was testing Password Manager in Microsoft Edge, and the laptop on which I was trying to log in Discord is different, which doesn't have the Edge browser installed in it. So I decided I will create a way to manage my passwords in such a way that I don't have to remember multiple passwords and should only need to remember one password. And I made a checklist for the various ways I can access my Password Manager. First is a standalone website, and the second one is mobile app, and the third is a web extension that can be installed on any browser. And this is how I created my own Password Manager. So I had for creating a public repository in GitHub, and now the first thing was to decide the name for my Password Manager. After some time, I finalized the most non-creative name for the repository, Pama. Now the plan is to create a monorepo project. If you don't know what a monorepo is, it is basically a software development strategy in which code for multiple projects is stored in a single repository, which allows dependencies and shared libraries to be managed easily. So in our case, this monorepo will contain shared code library and multiple projects for different platforms in a single code base. Next, I added the license file for the repository and then initialized an empty Node.js project. Now, I created a core folder which will contain the core logic of our code, and then this code will be shared by all the projects for different platforms. I created an index.ts file which will export everything from the source folder. In the source folder, we have a utils folder that will contain utility codes that will be reused in other places. Here we have created an extract domain function that will help us to extract the domain from the URL string if the URL string is valid, else it will throw an error. In the v1 folder, we will create the initial version 1 logic of our password generation. The reason is to separate the generation logic in versions so that we don't break previous generation logic when we introduce new features. Now for the generation logic, we will need two things. First is the domain of the website for which the password will be created. We will say it as an identifier. The second is the key that will be used to create the random password, which we will say as master password. Next, we will define the character sets that should be used when generating the password, and we also define the minimum requirements for each character set and the total password length for the final generated password. Now I do not want to hardcode the password length or minimum requirements, but right now, as there is no way to show the passwords, so the password customization is limited. Now, before we move down to the generation logic, we first need to understand what is hashing. Hashing is a process of converting data of any length to a fixed size output using a special type of function called hash function. The hashing have some features that will help us here. First is that hashing is a one-way process. That means that it is extremely hard to decode the original data from the hash value. Second is that the same input data always result in a same hash value, and any change to the original data will change the result in a new completely different hash value. Now that you have some idea about hashing, we will use something called HMAC. HMAC or hash-based authentication code is a type of message authentication code that combines a cryptographic hash function with a secret key to produce a fixed size hash value, which is used to ensure that the message hasn't been altered in transit and that it was sent by someone who possesses the secret key. In simple terms, HMAC is equal to hash function with secret key and message. Now we move back to the generation logic. We are creating an initial seed based on the identifier and the master password, and using salt and rounds to deterministically create a final seed at the end. Now we will use that final seed to get a deterministic random number, and use that random number to select a character from the character set. Now we will just select the characters for the password repeatedly till we complete all the password requirements. Once we get our final password, at the end we need to deterministically shuffle the password, as the password generated have characters from the character sets in order. So for shuffling our password, we will use Fisher-Yates algorithm. In this algorithm, we will divide the string in two parts, unshuffled and shuffled, and we will repeatedly select a random character from the unshuffled part and swap it with the last index of unshuffled part, and then mark the last index as shuffled. After the shuffle, we will return the generated password and our core password generation logic is completed. For website, I initialized a Next.js project and I reused some code from my personal website codebase and then modified the theme of the website and changed the input fields for the website. Now I imported the v1 function from the core module and passed the URL and the master password to the v1 function, and it will return the object with the generated password, which will be displayed in the generated password input field. So the website design is created and was very easy as compared to the last time I created my personal website. Next, I set up the Expo project for creating a mobile app, as Expo also uses TypeScript, which makes it easy to import the core library in the project. I designed the UI of the mobile app similar to the website to make the design look consistent, and then imported the core library to generate the password. After importing, I cross-verified that both website and mobile are generating same passwords based on the same domain and master password. Then I created a logo in 5 minutes that will be used as mobile app icon and website icon. So now the last thing remaining is the web extension. As I don't have any idea how the extensions are developed, so I head to the developer docs section and learned how to create a basic extension. After learning, I need a way to write the same HTML, CSS and JS as in my Next.js website, so that the extension doesn't look different. Here I found out the export functionality of Next.js. That will be helpful to export the HTML, CSS and JavaScript version of the code. Now you should know that the Next.js project can be created using two methods. First is the app router, which is recommended and the default approach according to Next.js, and the second is page router. So I created an extension folder and created a Next.js project using the page router. Why? Because I already tried app router and it doesn't work. Next, I ported my website code to the extension and it works like a charm. But still we have a few more things to make it usable as an extension. First is the manifest file that will contain the details of the project, the default action, the icons file for different sizes and the permissions required by the extension. And we added an active tab permission and created a function that will return the URL of the current open tab. And we will call this function every time the extension is opened, and we'll set the current URL in the URL field by default. Now we need to export the extension, so we will set the output to export. When we export, we will get a folder that contains a standalone website code. But there is one problem: the manifest and icons are in different folder, and the output folder contains the _next folder, and the underscore isn't supported by web extension. So I created a post build script that will first rename the _next folder to next, and then traverse each file inside the folder and replace the _next path with next, and then copy the contents of web extension directory to the output directory. That means copying the manifest and the icons to the output directory. Now I need to update the logo so that it will look more professional. So I installed Figma and created a simple logo after watching some tutorials, and the logo turns out to be great. So then I updated all old logos with the new ones. Before finalizing the project, I showcased the project to a friend, and after testing, he recommended some improvements that can be applied to the project before releasing it to the public. So I quickly implemented these features and moved on to publish the Chrome extension in Chrome Web Store. For that, I created my developer account and uploaded the details of the extension. And then they asked the simple purpose of the extension. So I added a short description, and in a few hours, the extension got rejected. So they want more detailed description of the extension. So I changed the description and added a few more screenshots and uploaded it again. After waiting for several days, the extension was finally published. Now I updated my website and added the icons for different platforms where the project is available. And in GitHub, I uploaded the APK file and released the 0.1 version release. And with this, my password manager is complete. And now I will go and change all my passwords with my own password manager which I can trust.
6 hours later.